Hello, my name is Tony Morbin, Executive News Editor at ISMG, and I'm your moderator for today's webinar, Securing the Cloud, Mitigating Vulnerabilities for Government. Our subject matter experts today are Amber Benwi, Product Manager Security, Datadog, and Andrew Krug, Manager Advocacy, Security and Compliance, Datadog. Cloud vulnerabilities and misconfigurations can expose government organizations to the threat of data breaches, service outages, and debilitating cyber attacks. To ensure organizational continuity, it's imperative that DevOps and security teams equip themselves with the tools and shared insights needed to remediate these security risks before they lead to widespread damage. Today, our security experts will discuss the issues and describe Datadog's latest innovations for securing your cloud-native infrastructure and applications. Before we begin, for those of you unfamiliar with Information Security Media Group, we're a global education and intelligence firm with 30+ international media sites in vertical sectors such as bank info security, gov info security, and healthcare info security, with more than 1.3 million members registered to our sites. If you have any questions for our speakers during the course of this session, please submit them via the chat window on your screen. And if you experience any technical issues while viewing today's webinar, please use the email address on your screen. Also, I do need to emphasize that the content being presented in today's session is copyrighted material and is meant for today's session and individual study purposes only. If you or your organization would like to use the information presented in today's webinar or are looking for customized training or education, please contact us. Our sponsor, Datadog's SaaS platform, integrates and automates infrastructure monitoring, application performance monitoring, log management, real user monitoring, and many other capabilities to provide unified real-time observability and security for their customers' entire technology stack. Datadog is used by organizations of all sizes and across a wide range of industries to enable digital transformation and cloud migration, drive collaboration among development operations, security, and business teams, accelerate time to market for applications, reduce time to problem solution, secure applications and infrastructure, and understand user behavior and track key business metrics. Now, back to our subject experts. Amber Benwi is Product Manager for Cloud Security at Datadog. She's had a varied career in product management, cybersecurity, and DevOps across a multitude of industries, including healthcare and education for companies such as ThreatStack, Athena Health, and MIT. She also co-founded 2 companies, University of Reddit and Hard Times Media. She's currently focused on bolstering diversity and inclusion in the tech industry. Andrew Krug is a senior engineer specializing in cloud security and identity and access management. Krug also works as cloud security consultant and started the Threat Response Project, a toolkit for Amazon Web Services first responders. Krug has been a speaker at Black Hat USA, DerbyCon, and B-Sides PDX. So welcome, Andrew. Amber.
Thanks, Tony. Great to be here. Happy to be doing this ISMG webinar, Securing the Cloud, Mitigating Vulnerabilities for U.S. Public Sector. So this session today, we're just kind of going to give you a high-level overview of Datadog's integrated observability and security solutions. We're going to focus on maximizing insights and minimizing risk across these highly regulated environments that we all work in inside of U.S. public sector. We'll cover how unifying visibility, logging, and threat detection enables compliance, protects sensitive data, and ultimately safeguards the mission of public sector. So here's a little bit of an agenda for us today. We will just do a platform overview for you, and we'll get you familiar with all of the different capabilities of Datadog, especially the security capabilities. We'll look at kind of the public sector threat landscape and kind of review some things that have happened recently on the public sector side. We'll look at the DevSecOps approach and why that's relevant to you. We'll give you a little bit of insight into our roadmap and show you some of the different ways that Datadog product can really help out. So with that, I'll go ahead and hand it off to Amber to talk just a little bit about the philosophy at Datadog, because it is totally different than many other companies that operate in the security space.
Awesome. Thanks, Andrew. So let's jump in. Starting off with what Datadog is overall. We're a unified monitoring and security platform that helps our customers meet the latest of public sector guidelines. So we can help agencies understand the true states of their applications, their infrastructure, easily troubleshoot customer issues, and ultimately improve the end user experience. We've been making a lot of strategic investments to help our customers secure their clouds over the past couple of years. But also, we've been working with a lot of our customers as they've gone through their cloud migrations, their digital transformations, moving from legacy workloads into more modern infrastructure, so that, not only are we there for the future state, but we're also helping in the transition state. Datadog overall collects data from your servers, containers, applications, and cloud-based services with one single unified agent. And we also have a number of out-of-the-box integrations that can help collect data from all of your services, regardless of whether they're on the networking side, on the permission side, the container side. We have a number of integrations that allow you to very easily get that aggregated in one place. Our agents and our integrations, they collect data like metrics, traces, logs, and ultimately a lot of that also feeds into our security products. So the same observability context we collect powers our security engine, which gets you really deep detections and insights into the state of your environment, even in very dynamic situations. All of that data is collected by our agent and set up to our SaaS platform, which enables us to provide our customers with really deep monitoring and security. Ultimately, we monitor on the 3 pillars, but we also have a number of other services that you can see listed here. Today, we'll be talking a lot about how our infrastructure monitoring feeds into and provides context not only into performance insights, but also can help you achieve your compliance requirements as well as your runtime threat detection requirements. We have an APM offering, which stands for Application Performance Monitoring. So that is on the application side, as inferred, and that can provide you insights for all of your services, APIs, applications, and so on, to the level of providing you really deep trace activity and context around the state of your API requests. And last but not least, we also have a really powerful log management offering that can aggregate and consolidate all of your front-end and back-end logs, and creates a really good foundation for issue analysis, but also allows you to see everything in one place. A number of our customers have dozens, if not hundreds, of services, and all of these generate a lot of logs. So Datadog does a good job helping sort through the noise. We've enabled everything in one platform. So like I mentioned, our logs, our APM, our infrastructure monitoring offering. And what that helps is to reduce context switching, provide a single pane of glass. And ultimately, it helps developers and operations and security teams collaborate effortlessly. So, where does this tie into the public threat landscape? Well, as you saw in the previous slide, in both legacy and modern infrastructure, there's a lot going on. And that complexity feeds into how quickly the public threat landscape evolves as well. We have noted and noticed in the industry that not only is the threat landscape evolving rapidly, in both in all of the areas or arenas like land, air, and sea, but they're also extending into new frontiers like space and cyber. So, we've seen a number of reports come out, namely around some of the state of the world, right? You know, Google the Google Fog of War research report just came out, and actually noted that in the case of Russia's war in Ukraine, that has actually led to a 300% increase in global cyber attacks since February 2022. So that was about 2 years ago now, and we've noticed that trend keep going up even higher. And as a result of this, and not just a specific type of attack or situation, we've seen a number of things tie into the cyber threat landscape that pose an immense amount of challenge, both for federal and state, local, territorial agencies who were already struggling even before this report came out, before, you know, we've seen a number of emerging threats in the world that, you know, they're struggling because of their hybrid infrastructure, uptick in specific attacks from nation state actors that extend beyond, you know, what's going on with Russia and Ukraine, as well as the fact that cyber criminals are noticing that there's a lot of financial reward with very low effort for going after, you know, federal and SLT type agencies. So, you know, a lot of this stems from the fact that, you know, in a lot of cases, agencies are modernizing their infrastructure, but they're staying with their traditional legacy security solutions. And so, you know, because of that, the lack of visibility they're having also leads to not being able to adequately protect themselves. And so there's like a huge combination of, you know, modern infrastructure and not having the right tools, learning curve, and not understanding, you know, where gaps may exist, or where, you know, organizations need to start proactively protecting themselves. And, you know, as a result of that, you know, we are seeing a very large spike in sophistication in the types of attacks in these types of organizations, as well as the fact that the cost of these attacks are becoming even more expensive. And this isn't just an unnoticed type of trend in the country today. We've seen a number of White House cybersecurity actions reflect this urgent priority. So, you know, in 2021, there was an executive order that was prescribed for all of the SLTs and agencies that require federal agencies to start implementing better security measures, right? Nothing was enforced before, and now it's becoming an order from our administration. So to start putting in place tools for multi-factor authentication, encryption, logging, monitoring, as well as endpoint detection. But it's not just about putting the right tools in place, it's about putting the right guardrails and guidelines. So those same executive orders you are asking their agencies to start following best practices like NIST guidelines, and start reporting how they're tracking towards that to CISA and OMB, which are organizations in the United States that oversee how our agencies are implementing their security guidelines, and also are watchdogs in that sense. And you know, the last thing is not just about protecting the agencies themselves, but also protecting the agencies against the contractors and the service providers that they work with. So ensuring that those third parties are also following the same best practices, so you don't have gaps both internally as well as with your external providers. But, you know, even though we put this order out about 3 years ago, as a country, what the NSA and what the CISA watchdogs have noticed is that a lot of federal departments and agencies are struggling to.
Amber, you're just hitting the question I was about to ask, was having put out, you know, these requirements in the executive order and saying what they would like to see, where are government agencies now in their cloud journey? And where are they struggling most to achieve optimal cloud security? I'm I'm guessing you were heading down that route already, but do carry on.
Yeah, for sure. So a lot of it depends on the organization, right? There's a number of agencies in the United States that have adopted more modern tooling. As they tend to be like the more innovative agencies that will try something out before other agencies adopt. So, we've seen a number of agencies that are moving to newer technologies like serverless. They're moving to newer security tools in a very type of trial basis. So it tends to be 50-50, but many are still swaying on the hybrid side. So they're a mix of on-premise as well as cloud infrastructure. They're very nascent in that, and they're also very new to a lot of these types of guardrails and guidelines that the administration is asking the agencies to comply to. Traditional security tools, traditional tools don't make it very easy to demystify what's there. And in a lot of cases, we're asking these organizations to do a lot, which requires them to put in, 20 to 30 new tools in place in a very short amount of time. So, the short answer is a lot of them are very early in this journey. And in a lot of cases, they don't know what tools they even need or how to even track the guidelines that they're being asked to follow. Andrew, is there anything you want to add to that?
No, I think you did a really good job kind of covering this here. I think what's important to remember about the legislation that's come into play for government is that, we've always had kind of this legislation on the private side. And then because of the rise of some really high profile government incidents, we had some of this legislation drop in. And so what we're dealing with here is kind of lifting and shifting lots of legacy systems all at one time. So we're seeing this digital transformation inside of government that took place in the private sector over a very long period of time. So we're going to see some things happen that we've never seen happen on the private sector side.
Mm-hmm. And, this all goes back to just calling out that traditional security tools don't work for modern environments. Traditional logging tools, legacy logging tools don't translate very well. They're very good at supporting on-premise type infrastructure. They're very good at supporting legacy process and environments. However, they don't scale to the new reality where, first off, we're moving away from a perspective that security is security's problem, right? And so in a lot of cases, those security tools are just built for their very specific end users. So, the one thing to call out is not only are the environments becoming more complex, but so are the team dynamics. And each team has a different type of output that they would like to see from their security tooling. On the security side, what we're noticing is that a lot of the teams that were using tools or have specific tools in place, they're not able to keep up with the dynamic nature of their environment. So they have context, but they don't have the cloud metadata or the real-time visibility that allows them to keep up with the shifting sands and newer types of cloud infrastructure.
I was going to ask you, you're saying, they're tied down in their legacy systems, but for those who are leading the DevOps or security teams in federal agencies, why is it so crucial now to focus on modernizing and strengthening their cybersecurity strategies?
So I would say that the former approach was always to be more reactive. And so the idea is you stand up the technology that you need and you worry about security later. The issue with that is the more reactive you are, the harder it is to figure out where your gaps are once everything is stood up, the more complicated it is. Because once you have everything stood up, especially in a cloud environment, the complexity exists in how quickly developers and DevOps are able to stand up infrastructure and deploy, how often releases are happening. Your SDLC shifts dramatically from making a release every couple weeks to being able to release on the hour, every minute, anytime you want. It's available to you. So the boundaries tend to shrink in terms of how quickly your software engineers can move, how quickly your DevOps can spin up new infrastructure. And so you don't have that ability or that luxury of being able to figure out security later, right? So the goal, once you start moving into these newer types of environments or operating models, is figuring out security at the same time.
Yeah, I think the impetus of DevOps, right, was to transition things that developers had kind of pitched over the wall to ops and make developers really accountable for the choices that they make inside a production environment. So they're on the hook all the time. And so what we're seeing is really kind of a consolidation. You could almost take this security bubble and move it further into that graph, because I think that's the reality that we're dealing with today, which is that every team, all three of those teams, are all accountable for security in different ways. And the velocity that you can move at is dictated by how engaged that development and operations team is.
Thanks, Andrew. So, ultimately, the takeaway here is that not only is the technology changing, but so are the team dynamics. And you need to have tools that can offer visibility without having to context switch across many different tools to paint the full picture, as well as tools that can help with providing end-to-end process and workflow and ability to not only detect the issue, but remediate it in one single place. And so I'll pass it over to Andrew so that he can give an overview of how Datadog can help with not only the team dynamics, but also the visibility.
Thanks, Amber. This is just a high-level diagram of kind of the way that we think about the way that data flows through our security platform. And you might notice that it's a bit different than the way a lot of other vendors think about this, because we're really building on the telemetry that we're already collecting from your cloud environment. So logs, metrics, traces, all things that we lean into, and then we analyze that same data that you're already kind of sending in order to provide this kind of security lens on the same data. So security and engineering teams in the public sector face some different challenges than in private. They have limited budgets, sometimes very legacy systems, and this increasing pile of compliance requirements. Collaboration between your engineering teams and operations and security is really, really essential. I think one of the things that we're really seeing as an industry in the market is tool sprawl. So everybody has 20 or 30 different tools that replicate some of the same functionality, and just consolidating them on the same platform has massive, massive benefits. So Datadog takes this integrative approach of aligning security, monitoring, and application data to provide unified protection. So we create this familiarity with tools and process and interfaces that really allow people to respond a lot more quickly than they would if they were moving between a bunch of different systems.
And I was going to ask you, what are some of the notable trends that you are seeing in the vulnerability landscape? And just tell us a little bit more about Datadog capabilities to help with that management.
Yeah, sure. So one of the things that we do every year is we publish the Datadog State of Cloud Security and State of Application Security. And one of the things that was a finding in the most recent version of the report was that CVEs are really increasing. So every year over year, you almost see a hockey stick graph of critical vulnerabilities. Also, companies are bringing along more open source than ever. So like whether you are writing your own software, you're consuming somebody else's software, the number of indirect dependencies that could bring a vulnerability into your environment are on the rise. And so that's what vulnerability management has really been focused on inside of Datadog, is helping you identify those risks at cloud scale, because again, you have thousands of assets potentially that you need to run vulnerability management on, and you need to triage those and understand which of them are actionable. So which should you put to the top of your stack to prioritize? Because we're all working with incredibly lean teams, and we can't just go and tackle 100% of the vulnerabilities in our environment every day. Wouldn't that be nice if we had the time and resources to do that?
Okay, thanks very much.
So tying it together, the previous diagram was the high level, but, I want to call out that we operate in a number of different security categories in one unified platform. We have an application security offering that sits on the application side, providing build time and runtime visibility. So all the way where the developers are writing the code all the way up to once the code is in production, being able to track, anything ranging from credential stuffing all the way down to if there are vulnerable dependencies or bad coding hygiene practices being used within your applications, your microservices, your APIs. On the cloud security management side, we offer deep visibility both into compliance risk as well as runtime detection on the infrastructure layer. We do this in a number of different ways. The main thing I want to double click into is the fact that this is powered off of that same Datadog agent that you use also for your infrastructure observability as well as monitoring. And we offer a number of amazing out-of-the-box frameworks such as, NIST, so we're able to continuously evaluate as to how organizations are tracking to NIST, as well as best practices such as SOC 2 and CIS, and also emerging threats and vulnerabilities that come from our security research team that is in-house. On the Cloud SIEM side, we also sit, on the top of our logs offering, and we're able to provide a unified view into your MITRE, into how your organization is tracking to the MITRE attack framework. And so not only are we able to provide really robust detection capabilities using the same logs that are already in Datadog for your log aggregation use cases, but we're also able to provide end-to-end support into your investigation and remediation workflows through the SIEM offering. And all of our 3 security products sit on top of our observability offerings, but also leverage our shared remediation, investigation, and response services, but also have very deep tie-ins to our collaboration capabilities. So things like incident response, inventory capabilities, and dashboards. We can bring this into context by showing a couple quick demos as to how Datadog does this in-app. So Datadog can offer a lot of turnkey capabilities based off of the same logs that are already in your log management tool. So Datadog has hundreds of out-of-the-box integrations that tie into a number of different services, both at the cloud control plane, the authentication side, collaboration network, all the way down to other security tools that you might already have into your ecosystem. Taking the same logs that we already have, we're able to provide a number of turnkey capabilities as well as ways to visualize your existing logs from a security lens. First off, I mentioned earlier that we support a number of out-of-the-box frameworks. On the SIM side, we have hundreds of out-of-the-box rules that map to MITRE ATT&CK. And clicking into this, you can see that we're able to not only give really deep context into how to triage and respond to these security signals once they're detected, but also the exact MITRE ATT&CK tag that this maps to. The rules are really great. In a lot of cases, these work out of the box, but we also give a lot of power to our customers to create their custom rules, but also add specific things such as notification, enable notifications, third-party support for your ticket management tools, as well as suppressions based off of the tags that Datadog is able to automatically infer once you get your logs into the Datadog platform. But it doesn't stop just there. We don't just have rules. We also ship a number of out-of-the-box dashboards that can provide a really nice holistic overview into how your organization is tracking, so that you could focus on what's most important first. And this allows you to not only cross-cut based off of severity, but also by log source, which this is all automatically populated. So our customers don't have to spend time inputting tags, manually updating and changing tags. We're able to look at our deep observability context and provide a unified tag visibility for our customers that's automatically populated throughout our entire platform. So you'll see this in your dashboards, your security signals, your notebooks, your incidents. Everything tends to carry over throughout the entire platform. We also have amazing retention, which is really important for the public sector. So everything you see here in terms of security signals is retained for over a year, 14 months. And for customers that are in more regulated environments, we have very flexible retention capabilities that allow you to store that both in Datadog or in third-party sources as needed. Shifting gears, we're going to move away from dashboards, and I'm just going to quickly show you our cloud security management tool, which also is powered by our out-of-the-box context. So in cloud security management, we also map a number of our runtime findings to the MITRE ATT&CK framework, but looking at compliance, that is a little bit different, where we're mapping to frameworks such as NIST, PCI, SOC 2, as well as a number of the CIS best practices. Again, a lot of this comes out of the box. You can see here that we're able to automatically show these misconfigurations on a resource by resource level, but you're also able to look at this holistically from being able to focus on specific resources in your environment, but also being able to group by different types of facets and tags as needed in your organization based off of what your goals are that day, or however you're trying to get ready for specific audit compliance audits within your organization. So you can see here we list all of our frameworks. But looking at this, it shouldn't feel like you have a laundry list of things to do or things to accomplish. Datadog takes a lot of the guesswork out of it by being able to provide different ways to both group and visualize your assets on the high level. So you can see we're able to provide both high level context, but also allow you to drill down based off of your organizational priorities or areas where you would like to improve your compliance. Andrew, anything you'd like to add here?
No, I think this barely scratches the surface, and we don't have time to do a really deep demo. But I work at Datadog, and every time I see these screens, I want to know more.
I was just going to say that you're providing all this functionality. What are the factors that are the biggest ones inhibiting agencies from being able to bolster their cloud security? You mentioned how they're a lot of them are fairly early on in the journey.
I believe that a lot of traditional security tools are really tactical. So a lot of our organizations that are either early in their cloud migration journeys or operating in a hybrid model are juggling multiple tools that are each giving them different priorities, and based off of the day, based off of how their environment is changing, based off of the fact that those tools don't have all of the context in one place. I think that's a big thing, the noise that they're seeing, not just from having to operate multiple security tools, but also having to use tools that don't have that depth, right? And are not able to provide very tactical guidance and remediation for their customers, right? Like they're reporting that there is a security issue, but they're not telling the customer or the end user very tactically how to go solve for that. So, a lot of our customers get stuck with decision paralysis as a result of that. Like they know that there is a lot of risk in their environment, or that they have a lot of security signals, but they don't know how to chip away at that in the best way or the most efficient way.
Yeah, I think in government there's a lot of controls. And I think the biggest barriers sometimes for government to onboard what we would think of as modern cloud security is actually procurement barriers. So ensuring that your vendors are FedRAMP certified, for example, which Datadog absolutely is FedRAMP certified. And that is a relatively new thing for government agencies to think about outsourcing something to a SaaS vendor like Datadog, where you control the agent, like everything that touches your systems belongs to you, but then you ship telemetry to a SaaS provider, and then we do the reasoning, we do the analysis, we help you triage. But that is a relatively new and different thing in government specifically.
Just to wrap it up here, we are never done building a Datadog, right? Our platform's super powerful. It allows us to innovate very quickly, but also very responsibly in the security space because of the depth of data that we already have on the observability side. In 2024, we're making a number of key investments on the application security side. We want to get more into remediation and protection. So as you can see, we're building in a number of capabilities that allow our customers to effectively respond to account takeover attempts, protect against DDoS attacks and bot attacks, and do that all from the same platform that's also providing that detection as well as build time visibility. On the cloud security management side, we're increasing the breadth of what we can protect. So we've actually just released our Windows capabilities on the runtime side, and we're also going to be growing that into a vulnerability management solution, which you will see in the next couple weeks. We will be going live for that. But we're also recognizing that a lot of our customers want visibility into their data security, being able to not only just detect where sensitive data is within their environment, but also having Datadog provide guidelines for improving those practices, making their data security more robust, especially in a lot of environments where there are a lot of dynamic changes in cloud environments with the flow of data, as well as how data is stored, how it's accessed. And so bringing that all together with the rich context we already have on the identity risk management side, on the compliance side, being able to provide even more guidance there. But like I mentioned earlier, we had a heavy focus on runtime visibility, but we're also looking at build time. So how our customers are managing their infrastructure as code, and being able to not only flag bad hygiene practices there, but also being able to do remediation from the same platform there. And last but not least, we continue to invest in our agent-based technologies, but for a lot of organizations, coverage is important. And so we're approaching that from the perspective of being able to provide very turnkey coverage through agentless scanning capabilities that can work hand in hand and tandem with our agent-based capabilities. So for customers, where coverage is a high priority, being able to provide that visibility so it's really easy to deploy Datadog at scale in even the most complex environments and get that coverage really quickly. And then on the Cloud SIEM side, we're looking at next-gen capabilities. So our Cloud SIEM offering is really robust in the sense that today it has a lot of coverage because of our hundreds of out-of-the-box integrations, as well as our really strong log management intake capabilities, as well as our log scanning capabilities. So we want to continue to build out our integrations into new types of products that we hear that customers like you are adopting, but we also want to offer next-gen capabilities that make it easy for customers to not just do their investigations, but also perform the remediation. And again, all of that ties into our shared services where we're always making investments. So we're making a lot of investments into AI ML. We're making a lot of investments into our workflows. So, where we're detecting, allowing our customers to perform that remediation and collaborate with their teams on that same platform that they're doing observability with. And so, like I mentioned, Datadog has thousands of out-of-the-box rules and compliance frameworks, and I'll hand it off to Andrew so that he can cap off with that and answer any questions that we have time for as well.
Yeah, so we have a ton of out-of-the-box frameworks. In fact, I think we've surpassed 5,000 customers who are utilizing security capabilities inside of Datadog. So our customer base includes some pretty great companies, including companies like Washington Post and Lenovo. Just to expand on that, though, it's not just a private sector story, because we do have all of the regulatory authorizations, including FedRAMP Moderate, Impact Authorization, SOC 2, Type 2, HIPAA, the AWS Government Competency, GovCloud, and ITAR. So those are all things that we think about constantly. And when you saw that roadmap slide, that's all the new stuff that's coming, and it does progress to the GovCloud environment and certifications for Gov at a pretty rapid pace. So all those things should be available inside of the government environments very, very soon once they're released. And really just like with the offerings that we're going to that we've shown you today, it can help you meet compliance requirements. It can help you do better DevOps or DevSecOps. And really the point is to genuinely bring all these teams together in a single place where they all have visibility into how they're operating. And that just pays dividends over and over again, regardless of whether you are a startup with 4 employees or you are a giant regulated federal company. So we hope that you'll give Datadog a try, check it out. And of course, if you have questions, please feel free to reach out.
That's great. I mean, I do want to follow up with a couple of questions. You mentioned compliance. How do organizations measure the success of their own efforts in securing the cloud? What are the key performance indicators that they should be focusing on?
Yeah, I think with regard to key performance indicators, a lot of that inside of Datadog surfaces in the form of these things that we call the posture score. And we did see that briefly earlier in the slide deck, that you kind of have this percentage score of how much of a framework you've implemented or not. And that's just a really great way to know, are you aligned with best practices? Of course, the best practices are very broad, and they're not going to help you do things like secure your specific application code. And that's the other side of the lens, right? Is that we need other tools that are also living inside of that application stack to help us have both parts of that picture. And we can do that inside of the Datadog platform.
Another thing you mentioned earlier, or Amber did, was talking about the collaboration between teams and the teams having to work together. So how important is collaboration between DevOps and security teams in mitigating cloud vulnerabilities and managing the risks? What sort of shared insights have you come across that you could share with us that are crucial for success?
Yeah, I think what we've seen, universally through all of these mega breaches or security incidents that were highly impactful is that the time that it takes to respond is critical. So the faster that you can respond to a security threat or an incident, you're either driving down your risk to ensure that you're not, going to be exploited, or you're acting on a risk inside of your environment. And the faster that we can all do that, the better. So consolidating everyone on a single platform doesn't just give operations and engineering and security the same visibility, but it also reduces the cognitive load that those people have to go through. So if I'm a security engineer and I'm working on an incident and I have to go between 5 different tools, and one of them I only log into on like my worst day on the job, that's going to slow me down. So that's really why the collaboration is crucial. It's the speed that it takes you to triage and act in a meaningful way, and that is the most important thing during a data breach or security incident.
Okay. Now, I know you showed us your roadmap for 2024, but can you just reiterate, what are the cloud security migration issues that are key and for you that you're really focusing on in the year ahead?
So in terms of cloud security issues that are key, I think what we're noticing is that the lack of coverage in a lot of our customers' organizations, but not knowing what the unknowns are, that is the biggest focus area for us, which is why we're investing a lot in agent lists, which is why we're focusing a lot on our emerging threats, threat detection strategy through our security research team. So bringing a lot of that context automatically into the Datadog security platform. And then the last thing is our correlation capabilities. So I quickly showed the security inbox. That's really powerful because it does really help with the unknowns in a customer environment where, we're able to take very point in time security signals and context and provide, an even better measure of criticality based off of, other related security events and signals in the environment, so that, you have a single security signal that tells you exactly, what resources are at risk, proactive things that a customer can do in their environment to reduce future risk. So yeah, the top 3, would be coverage, visibility into emerging threats, as well as helping our customers with the correlation. So being able to provide the correlation for them, so that they're not context switching, swivel chairing around a number of different security tools trying to figure that out.
Excellent. Now, a quick final question. Where can our audience go to learn more about cloud security and Datadog's solutions?
So we have a number of different places to go. I want to give a shout out to Datadog Security Labs, which is something that Andrew can maybe speak a little bit more about, where a lot of our research goes. Andrew, I don't know if you want to give a quick shout out to that.
Yeah, so obviously we have Datadog Security Labs, securitylabs.datadoghq.com, in case you're not familiar with it. It's where we focus our wholly practitioner oriented content. So it's everything from emerging threats and vulnerabilities to just breaking down and demystifying the way that different technologies work through a security lens. And then also, of course, in addition to Security Labs, you can read our security research reports on datadoghq.com. And then if you want to dive deep into the specific products and give those a try, you can sign up for a free trial and try out any of the products that you've seen here on screen.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Andrew, for sharing your insights and expertise today. Thanks to our sponsor, Datadog. I also want to thank you for taking time out of your day to attend the session. And I trust that today's discussion has provided some useful data points to enable your organization to address securing the cloud, mitigating vulnerabilities for government agencies. We hope to see you again at one of our upcoming events. For Information Security Media Group, I'm Tony Morbin, and thanks once again, Amber and Andrew.
Thanks, Tony.